Okay. Okay, let me share my screen. Hold on. Okay. Um, okay. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Sure, good start.
Yeah, whenever you're ready.
Yep.
Yep. All right, so welcome everyone. This is the Student CEO and the AIR Guidebook Project, and this is our preliminary design review, our PDR. Our team members are Jillian Bacco, Max Carrito, Kanika Gupta, Carrie Mori, and me, myself, Jamie Roeder. Our sponsor is Jim Sporer, and our advisor is Doctors Sneeri Tamvada. Yep. So the goal for this PDR is to make sure that our selected prototype concept and design concept makes sense. So the objective is to show our idea for a solution, then present it, our alpha prototype, and what we've learned so far. So this presentation is going over our project overview, so how the project's going and what we're looking at. We're also going to talk about our ideation process and how it went. We're also going to show our alpha prototype results, and then in the end, we're going to talk about program summary, our schedule, budget, just an overview of what else is to come. And the expectation for the audience for this presentation is to get, sorry, to get feedback on the technical feasibility of our prototype and also to make sure that our prototype is addressing all the issues from the initial requirement of the project.
All right, yeah. So for the project's summary is that AI-mediated collaboration solves the primary bottleneck of executive time constraints in academic and industry mentorship. So the problem currently we're facing is that traditional mentorship is severely limited because of the time constraint and the intellectual property concerns. The main aim of the project is to produce a guidebook and white paper that establishes a framework by using five AI digital worker platforms to facilitate a scalable asynchronous collaboration between student CEOs and industry mentors. And this model will preserve high value human interaction while simultaneously reduce the heavy burden on human mentors.
And now I want to talk to you a little bit more about our ideation process. And we used the morphological analysis as our primary creative technique. And this approach involved breaking a complex problem into its key dimensions and systematically exploring different options for each dimension. In our case, we decomposed the AI-enabled collaboration system into major design dimensions. One example being the coordination structure between AI digital workers. Rather than converging on a single solution too early, this allowed us to explore the full solution space by examining multiple combinations of design choices. And this technique was particularly useful for a project because it supports structured creativity while maintaining traceability and scope control, which aligns well with both engineering design practice and the expectations of this. Next slide, please. And our brainstorming process followed a structured iterative format. First, each AI digital worker independently generated startup concepts related to reducing mentorship barriers. Second, we compared output across platforms to identify overlapping themes and eliminate weak or unrealistic suggestions. Third, we consolidated promising ideas and refined them using follow-up prompts. Fourth, the team applied human judgment to filter ideas based on feasibility, scalability, and our ethical alignment. And then finally, we evaluated each refined idea against our defined KPIs, including reduce human labor, increase executive participation, and replicability. This structured approach ensured our ideation process remained disciplined rather than purely creative. And one design decision that we really primarily focused on was how our multiple AI digital workers will interact. And The single model approach, one AI would generate and refine the ideas independently. Sequential mode, one idea drafts, another one critiques them, and another one would refine the output, et cetera, et cetera. And in parallel mode, which is kind of what we have been discussing with you as well, Jim, multiple AIs would generate these ideas simultaneously, with the refining process as well as the initial draft process. And then ultimately the human or us, the CEO, would consolidate these results, and then evaluate these options based on bias reduction, output diversity, and time efficiency.
Okay, so our design process, as we've kind of talked about over the last several meetings, is built on basically continual iteration instead of one idea that we select. So these ideas evolve through repeated refinement instead of just choosing one off the bat. So this is just kind of the structure that we've been following. So we basically do weekly mini sprints where we're going to start this actually this week. So each team member refines their white paper section. And then at the end of the week, we're going to finalize that before our meeting. And then that whole process is just going to repeat and evolve, maybe get a little better, maybe change slightly as time progresses throughout this project.
Sorry about that, I was on mute. So the purpose of this alpha prototype is to make sure that our models are scalable for student CEOs, and it will actually help lead academic industry innovation. So the primary objective is to test our hypotheses that AI will improve the mentorship process between students and industry experts. And some of our targeting barriers are that we need to make sure our design helps, more specifically, industry experts with some of their main complaints, which are scheduling issues, data security, and work quality. And the way we're working on our prototype is using an agile sprint model. This was actually suggested by Jim. So we started our sprint design on week one, where we framed our problem and tried to understand what was the issue. And we are going till week 8 through 10, around there, to submit our final white paper. And another thing that we're working on is splitting the work between us, and also not only just between us, but also between multiple AI agents. So doing this will accelerate the work a lot and will also improve the quality. And finally, we are logging all of our responses from the AI agents and what we are prompting to better understand what is going on, why we got a certain response, and how we can improve that. And so far, our iterative drafting has improved multiple sections of the paper. We originally started with version 4 of the white paper. We are now at around version 16. And so some of the things that we've done so far is successfully added academic references, and we also made it very clear, a lot of the concepts that we thought maybe weren't so clear in the beginning. Uh, Another thing we've done is reformat the paper for readability. We use special prompts with AI to help us with this. And then finally, also added visuals to make the information more engaging for readers and easier to understand as well. And what we've learned so far is that to get good AI analysis, it does still require a lot of human overseeing because, and one of the things we've learned is that by using multiple agents, we're able to get a better quality response because each agent's able to help the other agent's weaknesses and strengths. And another thing that we've seen is that AI still occasionally hallucinate, meaning that it will just give false information, false numbers, false data. So human overseeing is still very, very important. So they need to make sure that all the information is correct. And also AI still has a visual limitation, still not the best at understanding graphics or understanding pictures. So a human is a lot better at that than a computer still.
Yeah, so for our team, we identified key risks across multiple domains to ensure that this project was completed successfully and that the output was reliable. And so you can see in green the highlights. You can see the post mitigation for the public safety and the interpersonal concerns. So on the next slide, it'll kind of tell you a little more about this, but this is just the overview of all of the risks that we identified and the mitigations for the two high risks that I mentioned. So this is the kind of matrix that shows the three highest risks. So through that mitigation, we were able to reduce some of those risks. So the main thing about this is you can see that the red, like the bottom right, 6B and 8B, they had the highest likelihood, highest severity, or highest severity, lowest likelihood. And that post mitigation shift moved it from highest likelihood, highest severity to still high severity, but limiting that likelihood. And you can see that these were the public safety concerns, that AI hallucinations, the interpersonal concerns, and then it was also some environmental concerns, which high volume using a lot of energy, and also a global concern that AI regulations could restrict access of using those free AI agents. So our risk management plan basically identified a gap that resulted in a new AI requirement. So the new requirement we found was that all AI generated content should be cross-checked by at least one additional AI worker and human reviewer before inclusion in the final deliverable. This is mainly to prevent any of that communication oversight between team members or AI workers. It's also meant to kind of just make sure that AI isn't hallucinating and make sure the output is actually what we intended it to be and it's not doing something that's going to steer people wrong if they use the guidebook.
So for our upcoming schedule on those weekly sprints, we planned out a section by section breakdown in which all of our team members will be working on the same section of the guidebook each week, um, individually and then consolidating into a team white paper version each week. Um, Additionally, what you see highlighted is section 3.1. That is the section in that will contain all of our startup ideas. So you'll notice that that is the only section that is carried week to week, um, because that will be the brunt of the white paper and the largest focus. It's also the area that currently needs the most improvement on our current white paper version. So starting this week, we will ideate startup ideas and then draft potential startup ideas, continue to move that through the progress, and then we'll have an entire week to finalize those startup ideas and consolidate them into the best ones for the team white paper, and then move any secondary ideas to the appendix. So that's kind of the plan for the startup ideas. And then the deliverables will be completed by mid-April then. And
So
then,
our, oh,
oh,
sorry, go ahead.
and then additionally, our budget is still on track. We haven't needed to use any of our funds for this project yet, as we are focusing on free AI agents.
So
Right.
unless you have, so now is like feedback questions, time for that. We also have the citation for that reference that we mentioned, but so that's the conclusion of our presentation. So if you have any questions, I guess we can just turn it back to that now.
Great. Thank you. I'll go first and then Sachin, you can jump in
Sure.
after. Let's go back to the first of all, outstanding, fantastic overview. I'll tell you what I especially like. If you go back to the first slide, the title slide. Um, okay. I would just add Sharika, your alumni coach, because Sharika, thank you for your help. I know your guidance is there. So just add Sharika there, maybe to future presentations. Next slide. Um, great. That's what a PDR is. Very good. Uh, very good. Um, Yeah, this emphasizes the executive time constraint, which is the main constraint because executives tend to think in terms of what is the value of my time doing something else. If I was working with customers, I think I mentioned in the chat, the executives are usually thinking, their time, if it was billable, would be like $300 an hour, and they should be using that time to bring in 20x their income. So that's like $6,000 with customers. So I just want you to understand that executive time constraint turns into dollars too. There's an equation going on in their head saying, why am I spending time on this when I could be, maybe bringing in $6,000 an hour into my company. So this is very good. I just wanted you to add that point about, how the executive is thinking. Um, and next slide. This is cool. So this was really nice. I, I, I think, when you, in general, I'm kind of like an industry person, but I'm also an academic. And so when you put in something like this morphological analysis, which I'm not really sure exactly, I do know what a morphological analysis is, but I don't know the particular type you're using. This is usually where you would want to put in a reference. So if you're using a particular morphological analysis that's based on the work of somebody developed it, you'd put in a reference here. And if you're going to include anything about this morphological analysis in your white paper, please be sure to put in a reference so I know which morphological analysis you're talking about. Maybe it comes from a textbook, maybe it comes from a faculty person or alumni coach, but just make sure I could go out or the reader could go out and find out what you mean by this particular morphological analysis. Next slide, please. This is great. Next slide. This is great. This is fantastic. I was really excited to see this. And I will make a video over the weekend where I show you some actual business model canvas startup ideas that are quantitative, that have quantitative. And I'm actually in the recording, I'm going to show you how bad. I think your next slide maybe talks about the AI slop, but or a few ahead, but that's what you really have to be on the lookout for is just, I call it word salad. It's like takes your words and it rearranges them coherently, but it's just word salad. There's no new information. And so I'm really excited to see that you as student CEOs are exploring different ways of working with your AI digital workers to get the best result. And in the video I'll create, I'll show you a trick, which is sometimes when your AI workers just aren't getting it, they're just throwing slop at you every time you try. So you kind of feel stuck. It's like, I'm not getting a good result, and my AI workers are just giving me slop. Um, that's when you need to, one trick is you show the AI worker a good result. You search the web, you get into Google or whatever, and you say, show me a great quantitative business model canvas for some startup idea. And you find that, fantastic business model canvas that when you look at it, you go, wow, this is the best business model canvas I've ever seen for a startup. Then you feed that into your AI digital workers and say, this is an example of what I'm after. Now do it for this domain that I'm looking for. So I'll make a video of that so you can see that. But this really excited me, this slide number 5 that you're doing this, because that means to me you're learning a lot about how to manage AI digital workers in different ways. And if you go to the next slide, oh, I know we're almost out of time and I want to give Sachin a chance. This is great. This is very good. Next slide. Very good, very good. Next slide. Yeah, when I saw this, the visuals that you've been creating are fantastic. So I haven't integrated those into my V17 yet, but I plan to. I think you're creating some amazing visuals for your white paper. And just wanted to give you some thumbs up on that. Really good work. Next slide. Okay. Yeah. Oh, and this one talks about the visuals. Okay. Next slide. Um, yeah, fantastic. And you even mentioned the energy concerns. That's one concern I have too about using multiple AI agents, but I'll try to include something in the video I'm making that will um, uh, have my hypothesis that I think needs to be tested around using multiple tools. And next slide. Actually, I think there's only one other question I had. So it's a little hard for me to read this that interpersonal one. What is that one? Just
Oh
make
yeah. Um yeah, well, so to clarify, I was going to make it like zoom in, but then like our like Canvas submission rubric for this is that it has to include a screenshot of the entire table. So I wasn't sure how to make it bigger. But so that's why I included the whole thing. But yeah, so interpersonal was basically one of the categories that we were required to have on this. And we said that interpersonal kind of could be like a lack of communication among like the individuals. Because I know that you, like in Slack, when I sent something, I know that one of the points you made was that, oh, a big part of this project is actually how do our team, like how do our individuals work together in addition to the AI. So just making sure that like our team works on that like interpersonal level a little better, not having things like slip through the cracks.
Yeah, this is super important because the industry mentors, there's a whole spectrum of industry mentors, right? um, there's 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 some like me who've like I've mentored student teams for like 30 years, so it's like it's very easy for me to feel comfortable with students, and I hope I make you feel comfortable. But yes, you sometimes get stickler industry mentors, and if there's any interpersonal problems on the team, they're not going to like it. So I'm glad you highlighted this. It's really important. And the things that go through my mind are like hypotheses, like, you know, the thing that would really excite me as an industry mentor is when I see the student CEOs kind of working like a laser. You know, you're communicating with each other, and the problems you sometimes get in any kind of team, including work teams, is people start feeling competitive with each other. And to me, that's like, no, there should be no competition between each other. There's there's like the goal is to create something for your client. And so some weeks one of you may do more work than others. That's okay. The other person had an extra exam to study for. So you can't like just be, you have to kind of rise as student CEOs, you really have to kind of think, you know, we're like a laser. We're working together on this final problem for the client, and that takes a good level of maturity. And I think that's, sometimes when you read the complaints that industry mentors have about students, they say, "Oh, I should go out and hire a consultant because I need a mature professional." So yes, that is a. I'm so happy you selected this one as one that really needs work. And this is one where you kind of have to be honest and let me know where the problems are, um, in Slack, because that's data points and that's important. And data is what we're after here. We're trying to figure this out together. So, Sachin, I only left you like one question or comment. I apologize because we have to end on time. But Sachin, did you have any thoughts, any advice for the students?
Yeah, for sure. So, what is the main goal of this whole project? What are we seeking out of it? Like, are we going into the with this solution with the real world? Is the question I have.
And maybe go back to that slide with the industry mentor time. So the main, I'm going to answer just to be, because I threw you into this right at the last minute, Sachin. The goal
Uh-huh.
is producing a white paper for ISSIP. that white paper is kind of like a guidebook with startup ideas for here are some startups that could help the ISSIP AICollab increase the quantity and quality of our industry mentors. And the idea is that they've overcome some obstacles. So that's the primary thing right here.
Got it. So we are giving a solution to the real world, right?
Well, no. Yes and no. It's unlikely that Carolyn or Kanika or Max or Jamie or Jillian would actually go out and start one of these startups. So I think say real world, you're talking about are the students here actually thinking they're going to go off and do a startup? I don't think so. I think they've all got their early career entry level jobs. So it's more an exercise in coming up with good ideas that they can share with the ISSIP community, Sachin.
Got it. Makes sense. Perfect.
No, those were great questions. Thank you. I'm sure other ISSIP leadership and volunteers would have those same questions. Great work, team. I'm very impressed and like the direction you're going. And probably the only two things are I would add Sharrica to that title slide, and I would add the reference to your morphological analysis. Those are probably the only two changes I would make to this. Otherwise, I thought it was fantastic. And I will make a video over the weekend that I'll send you that will include some examples of what I think are good business model canvases that are quantitative. So, so you get to see that a little bit. All right. Well, thank you all. And I'll talk to you next week at the same time. And Sachin, you'd be invited to join next week as well. I'll put you on the calendar invite. Thank
Sure.
you
We
all.
can meet up, Jim, once.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks
Thank
for the
you.
feedback.
Bye for now.